Gerald Nadler from the state of New York.
Why should we put the taxpayers' money at risk for Donald Trump's finances?
Let me emphasize this bill is fiscally responsible and balances the needs of our 9/11 heroes. The President's response to repeatedly lie to the American people and ignore all congressional subpoenas is immoral.
It has not even been 24 hours since the last mass shooting, and who knows how long until the next one. Too soon? My friends, what the hell are you waiting for?
The House Judiciary Committee has voted articles of impeachment against the President.
We believe in free speech, but we don't believe in hate speech.
Thank you for being with me, New York, and onward to Democratic victory in November.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was a look back at some of the highlights of Congressman Jerry Nadler's career. He's a liberal stalwart on Capitol Hill, and he's been there for more than 3 decades. Earlier this week, Congressman Nadler announced that he will not be seeking re-election next year, saying that his decision is driven by the need for generational change at the Democratic Party's leadership. His exit likely sets up a busy race to succeed him. Jerry Nadler represents the 12th Congressional District, which currently spans Manhattan's Upper East Side and West Side, as well as much of Midtown. Congressman Jerry Nadler joins us now to talk about his decision not to seek re-election and much more. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Good to see you.
When did you start thinking about making this your final term?
I started thinking about it a few months ago, and I figured 2 things. Number one, it was a nice round number. I will have served 50 years in public office, 34 in the Congress, 16 in the State Assembly. And the example of President Biden showed me, I think, that we really need generational change in the Democratic Party, and I might as well proceed with that.
Are you planning to resign before the end of the term?
No.
Among other things, it would give your successor a little seniority.
No, I wouldn't do that. And my successor will be chosen in the primary and the general election.
Got it. You are an attorney, Fordham Law School graduate. You've made a specialty of fighting for civil liberties and constitutional rights. What parts of the Constitution in particular, do you think are most in need of defense right now?
Well, a number of them. One is civil liberties. I mean, the way they're going after immigrants, or the constitutional spending power, the way they're refusing to spend money despite the Anti-Impoundment Act of 1974. They're subverting the entire role of Congress. And now this newest outrage where they just bombed a speedboat, which they asserted was carrying terrorists. So you're the judge, jury, and executioner when you're not in a time of war. For that, the president ought to face criminal charges.
You look at these things very differently from some of your colleagues in the majority. Do they, at a minimum, at least understand or share your understanding of why Congress has to defend its prerogatives on spending, war powers, and other key constitutional provisions?
Some of them do, but they're so thoroughly cowed by Trump's strength in the Republican Party that there's very little, and there seems to be no political courage. So they essentially do whatever he asks.
The district is differently shaped now, but for most of your career, it ran down the west side, jumped over into Brooklyn, and included Borough Park and Bay Ridge, which are very different politically and culturally than of the west side or the West Village and Chelsea and so forth.
Yep.
How did you make all of that work?
Well, you met with a lot of people, and you see what their needs are, and it's not just their needs in representation, but their needs in the community, and you try to meet them. And a lot of things, they were the same. I mean, it was probably the most heavily Jewish district in the country. And that was true of the Upper West Side, that was true of the Village, and it was true of Borough Park. And even Bensonhurst is a mixed Italian-Jewish, but certainly Borough Park. And so there were certain issues on which there was a commonality there.
Very interesting. There's a certain symmetry or perhaps irony here when you talk about the next generation, because what I had always heard about was how in the 1960s you founded West Side Kids, focusing on, sort of revitalizing local Democratic Party politics around a lot of national issues, including fighting against the Vietnam War, You had a lot of students from Hunter and Stuyvesant, NYU, Columbia,
That's
your
exactly
alma mater. And you actually were when you were in the assembly, you were actually a DSA member or the predecessor organization.
I was.
So do you see?
Till the mid 90s, I think, when suddenly it occurred to me that I don't really believe in common ownership. I believe in regulated capitalism, so I dropped my membership.
Oh, interesting. Okay, on principle, as always, right. So do you see anything of yourself in this new wave of activists who are trying to sort of, press the issue, make some changes?
Yeah, I mean, it's every wave of activists is somewhat different, but I look at the young activists coming up, and they very much remind me of myself and some of my friends. I mean, we were a little younger, I think. I mean, we started, the so-called West Side Kids were started by, believe it or not, myself and Dick Morris and a couple of other people in the summer between high school and college.
Right. Dick Morris, the famous political consultant, helped you run your campaign for class president at Stuyvesant,
That's right?
So you guys have been
and
at
Dick
this for a
Gottfried
while.
wrote the campaign literature for that campaign.
Dick Gottfried, right? So you got into this early. You certainly stayed with it for quite a while.
Yeah.
One of the things that always stood out for me was that while you represented the World Trade Center back on 9/11, you also voted against the Patriot Act, which was one of the main legislative responses to that terrorist attack. That must have been a little hard to do.
No, that was a demagogic anti-civil liberties response from the Bush administration. And what the real response was and should have been, and I spoke along with Carol Maloney, I fought for this for years, was a government paying for the healthcare needs of all the people who were poisoned by the toxic dust. And it took us 10 years. We finally passed the Zadroga Act in 2010. And I remember two things. I remember that right after 9/11, within a day, the mayor Giuliani was saying that the air was safe to breathe. I suspected not, and within 2 days we knew for certain it wasn't. But he kept saying that because he thought, I assume he thought opening up Wall Street was more important than the health of the people who lived and worked down there. And I got together, we called it the Ground Zero Task Force, Elected Officials Task Force. I got together all the elected officials who represented the area, the city council, the state assembly, state senate. We formed a task force to help get food to people who were shut in. I mean, there were no stores and so forth. But we also were trying to, I was saying about the toxic, there's nothing they could do about it, they were there. We finally held hearings in 2003 in which Christy Todd Whitmore, who had been the EPA administrator, finally admitted that the air was toxic.
You of course, will always be associated with the idea of a cross-harbor rail tunnel, so that freight would go straight from the port of Newark in New Jersey, in New York, over to Long Island without tying up the city and all of the truck traffic that has been snarling us for decades. That didn't particularly happen, but is the dream dead? It's still a good idea.
It's a good idea, and to put an amusing note on this, Mayor Hyland dug the first piece of dirt, shovelful of dirt for it in 1922. This has been going on a long time, but hasn't made much progress. I've spent a lot of time on it, but haven't gotten very far.
Well, you got to pace yourself on these things, right? It's only been 100 years. Finally, you led the impeachment efforts against Donald Trump in his first term. Any regrets about how that played out?
Yes. My regret is that we didn't succeed. My particular regret is that after the second impeachment, the first impeachment was bad enough, where he said to President Zelensky of the Ukraine, yes, we'll give you, I'll deliver the arms Congress voted for you if you do me a favor and announce an investigation of Joe Biden. Don't have to do anything, just announce an investigation to smear his name. That was bad enough. That was an abuse of power. But the second, where there was an insurrection, which he triggered, the first attempt to overthrow the United States government since the Civil War. And I really blame Mitch McConnell because he knew that the president was guilty. He said so on the Senate floor. He said the president is guilty. He did all this, but the criminal justice system exists. But he wouldn't get the votes to convict on the impeachment, which could have barred the president from running again, and we wouldn't have this whole mess and subversion of civil liberties and subversion of the Constitution we have now.
Right. Are you fundamentally optimistic about where things are right now?
I don't know. This country is in a very, very precarious position right now. Trump is playing the classic authoritarian playbook, the classic way of subverting democracy into a police state. So far, nothing is really stopping him, and I don't know where it's going to go.
Okay. On that note of caution, we want to wish you well. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.